Innocence Lost, the tragic murder of Wadea Al-Fayoumi, and a call to end hate crimes. It began as an ordinary day in a quiet Illinois town on October 14, 2023. But what unfolded would etch itself into the nation's memory as a chilling reminder of the devastating power of hatred. 6-year-old Wadea Al-Fayoumi, a bright and joyful Palestinian American boy, and his mother, Hanan Shaheen, were brutally attacked in their own home. Wadea was stabbed an unimaginable 26 times, while his mother was viciously wounded as she fought to protect her child. The attacker, Joseph Czuba, now convicted of first-degree murder, attempted murder, aggravated battery, and committing hate crimes, turned his blind prejudice into a horrifying act of cruelty. What made this crime even more alarming was its hateful motivation. Czuba's violent outburst stemmed from a fear and hatred ignited by geopolitical tensions. Just days after the October 2023 Hamas attack on Israel, he targeted an innocent family simply for their Muslim and Palestinian identity. This is not just a story of tragic loss, it is a wake-up call to the growing threat of hate crimes in our world today. Wadea Al-Fayoumi, only 6 years old, was full of life and curiosity. His innocence and youthful optimism stood in stark contrast to the brutal violence he endured. Hanan Shaheen, his mother, is a survivor in the most painful sense of the word. Her physical wounds may heal, but the trauma of that day will likely haunt her forever. These were not strangers in a distant land. They were a family like any other, living in our neighborhoods, going to our schools, and sharing in our communities. The unimaginable grief felt by Wadea's family cannot be overstated. A mother's love wasn't enough to shield her son from the hatred that entered their home. This story speaks to the vulnerability of marginalized communities across America, communities that, despite their contributions and resilience, are too often subjected to suspicion, scapegoating, and violence. The attack was committed in their suburban home, a place that should have been a sanctuary. What sparked Czuba's attack was, according to prosecutors, his misguided rage over recent international events. Fueling his bias was an environment steeped in misinformation and xenophobia, where individuals vilify entire communities over the actions of a few. On that tragic morning, Czuba turned paranoia into action. Armed with a knife, he unleashed a storm of violence that ended an innocent child's life. Wadea's body bore 26 stab wounds, each a testament to the cruelty that stems from unchecked hatred. Hanan, severely injured yet alive, fought tenaciously to protect her son. She now carries not only the scars of the attack, but also the heavy burden of unimaginable loss. What makes this case especially chilling is the calculated nature of the crime. Czuba's actions targeted them for who they were, rather than anything they had done. This is the terrifying essence of a hate crime. It is never personal, but always devastating. Following the attack, Czuba was arrested and brought to trial. The legal system worked swiftly to deliver justice, convicting him on multiple offenses, including first-degree murder and hate crimes. His courtroom appearance was a stark reminder of hatred turning into violence. However, while the conviction brings accountability, it cannot undo the damage. No court ruling can bring Wadea back or erase the lingering trauma for Hanan. Nor can it mend the deep fear and hurt now reverberating through minority and Muslim communities in the United States. Justice in the courtroom is just one piece of the puzzle, and it is far from complete. Wadea's murder is not an isolated incident. Hate crimes, especially those targeting Muslim, Arab, and other marginalized communities, have been rising steadily in recent years. FBI hate crime statistics reveal a troubling uptick in bias-motivated attacks across the country. From physical violence to online hate speech, these acts of prejudice are symptoms of a deeper issue infecting society. Wadea's case also comes during a time of escalating global polarization, where events in one part of the world fan flames of hatred thousands of miles away. It highlights an uncomfortable truth. Hate crimes are not random acts, but deliberate actions often fueled by social, political, and systemic factors. Hateful ideologies find fertile ground in fear, ignorance, and division, turning neighbors into enemies and communities into battlefields. This case lays bare the persistent issue of Islamophobia in contemporary America. Following events like 9/11 and more recent geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, many marginalized communities, especially Muslims, have borne the brunt of suspicion, profiling, and violence. Wadea's story is a heart-wrenching reminder of how this prejudice trickles down to even the youngest and most innocent victims. Social and political rhetoric often exacerbates the problem. Misrepresentation of Muslims in the media and public discourse paints entire communities as threats, fostering an environment where individuals feel emboldened to act on their biases. Czuba's crime was not born in isolation. It was the product of a society that allows hatred to simmer beneath the surface. Media coverage plays a powerful role in cases like these, for better or worse. On one hand, responsible reporting can draw attention to injustices, spark necessary dialogue, and demand accountability. On the other, sensationalized or biased narratives can deepen divisions and perpetuate stereotypes. Wadea's story underscores the importance of accuracy and compassion in telling the stories of hate crime victims. These are not abstract events or mere headlines. They involve real people, families, and communities suffering unimaginable loss. It is the media's responsibility to honor that truth while challenging the systems that enable such tragedies. As a society, we are at a crossroads. Wadea's story demands urgent action to prevent future tragedies. Ending hate crimes requires a multifaceted approach, starting with education. Bias is often rooted in ignorance, and dispelling misconceptions about marginalized communities is a critical first step. Schools, workplaces, and public platforms must become spaces where inclusivity and understanding are actively cultivated. Legislation also plays a pivotal role in combating hate crimes. While laws exist to prosecute offenders, they must be paired with proactive measures to prevent such acts from occurring in the first place. Strengthening community relations, improving hate crime reporting systems, and holding public figures accountable for their rhetoric are all necessary steps. But perhaps the most fundamental solution lies with us as individuals. Combating hate begins at the grassroots level, within families, friendships, and local communities. Every small step, from fostering empathy in children to speaking out against discrimination, adds up to create a culture where hatred cannot thrive. If Wadea's tragic story has moved you, let it be a call to action. Start by educating yourself and others about the dangers of prejudice and the impact of hate crimes. Support organizations working to protect victims and hold perpetrators accountable. Challenge stereotypes when you encounter them, whether in casual conversation or online platforms. Recognize the warning signs of extremism and speak up when you see someone in your community consumed by dangerous ideologies. Hate thrives in silence. Breaking that silence can save lives. And importantly, don't let cases like Wadea's fade into obscurity. Share his story. Keep the conversation going. The more visible hate crimes remain, the harder it becomes for society to look the other way. Wadea Al-Fayoumi's life was tragically cut short, but his story must carry forward as a reminder of what we stand to lose in the face of bigotry. His smile, his innocence, his love for life. They were stolen by hate, but they can inspire lasting change. Hanan Shaheen's survival, though steeped in pain, is a testament to resilience. Her voice and her fight for justice carry the potential to spark a movement against hate crimes, ensuring that no other family suffers a similar fate. It is up to all of us to carry this legacy forward. Wadea deserved to grow up, to chase his dreams, and to know a world free from hatred. While we cannot bring him back, we can honor his memory by building a society where love triumphs over hate and empathy overpowers intolerance. In recounting the tragic death of Wadea Al-Fayoumi, we confront an uncomfortable truth about the world we live in, a world where hatred can extinguish innocence in an instant. But his story also carries a powerful message. The forces of hate can be challenged and defeated if we, as a society, stand united. Let us remember Wadea not just as a victim, but as a catalyst for change. Let us fight for a world where no child lives in fear, no family suffers such loss, and no community is targeted because of who they are. The path to that world begins with awareness, action, and compassion. The time to act is now.